for staying with us. I'm Julie Grant. We want to take you back to Ohio right now, where we're in Pike County for the Ohio family massacre case. The defendant is George Wagner IV. He is one of the Wagner family members who's been charged. His mom and his brother Jake pleaded already. His dad, George III, his case is still on the docket, set to come down the line. And we're back from the lunch break, and now we've got our next witness on the stand who has consented to being shown on television. This guy's name is James Manley. He is the brother of one of the victims from the Rhoden family. We told you about Dana Rhoden. She was 37 years old at the time she was killed. This is her brother, James. Let's watch.
Good afternoon. How are you?
All right.
Okay. Can you please state your name for the record and spell your last name?
I'm James Manley.
Okay.
M-A-N-L-E-Y.
Okay. And Mr. Manley, how old are you?
46.
Okay. And are you married?
Yes.
And who are you married to?
April Manley.
Okay. And how long have you guys been married?
26 years.
26 years?
Judge, could you have the witness keep his voice up just a little bit, please?
Yeah, the acoustics aren't great in here. That should do a pretty good job of broadcasting if you can stay pretty close to that long mic.
Yeah, sorry.
Thank you.
Okay, so you said you've been married to April Manley for 26 years?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have children?
Yes.
How many children do you have?
30.
And what are their ages and names?
27, I think, and 25, and 15. Oldest ones.
Please try to keep your voice up if you can.
If you maybe move your chair, this will amplify your voice. It's just not if you're very far away from it. Sorry about that.
I wasn't very far from it.
What did you say?
Said I wasn't very far from it.
Yeah, I know. Trust me, this is a recurring problem. Okay, so you said you have 3 children, and you were telling us their ages.
Cody's 27, I think.
Okay.
Greg's 25. Josh is 15.
Okay, all boys?
Yep.
Okay. And do you have any siblings?
3 sisters.
3 sisters, and what are their names?
Kathy's the oldest one. Dana was the middle, and Bobby Joe was younger than me.
Okay, and where do you fall into that lineup?
Between Kathy and Dana.
Between Kathy and Dana?
Yeah.
Okay. And do you work?
Yes.
Where do you work?
Logan.
You do logging?
Yeah.
Okay. And can you tell us, how would you describe your relationship with your sister Dana?
Pretty good.
Okay. Did you live near her?
Yeah.
Okay. On the same road?
Yep.
Okay. You both lived on Union Hill Road?
Yep.
Okay. And were you aware that she had moved into a new place?
Yes.
Back in 2016? Okay. And how did you become aware of that, or how did you know that?
She coming out the house, said she got her place right out the road from our house.
Okay. And did you help her at all in moving in or anything like that?
I helped her with moving some beds in.
Okay.
And then helped clean some of the yard up.
Okay. And what kinds of things did you do to help her clean up the yard?
Just break leaves and sticks out of the yard.
Okay. All right. And would you say you had a good relationship with her children?
Yes.
Okay. And can you tell us, we know that Dana and Chris were married for a while.
Yep.
And then they divorced, correct?
Yep.
How was the relationship after they divorced?
It's about the same.
Okay. At the time, back in 2016, do you know where Frankie was working?
I know where he worked at. It's like remodeling houses.
Remodeling houses? Okay.
Yeah.
And do you remember who he was working for?
I think it was Donnie Stewart.
Say it again.
Donnie Stewart.
Okay. And was that an individual that had worked at the school too?
Yeah.
Okay. And then had a business?
Yep.
All right. And was your son, Cody, working with him as well?
Yes.
Okay. Were you aware, or did you have any knowledge of Frankie doing derby car racing?
Yep.
Okay. How did you know that?
We run together.
You'd ride together?
We worked on them together.
Work on the vehicles together?
Yep.
Okay. And how many years would you say Frankie had been doing that?
He was around it from the baby.
Say it again.
He was around it from the time he was a baby.
Okay. He was around it from the
Yeah.
time he was a baby? Okay. Did he like hunting as well?
Yes.
Okay. You knew he had chickens?
Yep.
Okay. Do you know if those were fighting chickens?
You can tell they're fighting chickens.
Why do you say that?
Just the way they look.
Okay. Tell me, who doesn't know, how to spot a fighting chicken. How do I spot a fighting chicken?
They're tied on a barrel or a cage.
Say it again.
They're tied to barrels.
Okay. Okay.
So they don't get together and fight.
Okay. So you keep them separated.
Yep.
Okay. And do you know if Frankie did that?
Well, I couldn't tell you.
Okay. That wasn't something that you went with him on or did
No.
with him? Okay. Okay, so can you tell us, back on April 22nd of 2016, where were you working at that time?
It was logging.
You were logging?
Yeah.
Okay. And who were you working for at that time?
Hobart, Montgomery.
Say it again.
Hobart, Montgomery.
Okay. And did you end up working that day?
No.
And do you remember why not?
Rain.
Rain? Okay. And how did you learn that you didn't need to go to work that day?
I went to call him from my phone, but my phone was out of time and used my wife's phone.
Okay. So you called your employer
Yep.
and he said not to come in?
Yep.
Okay. And can you tell us what you did then after finding out that you didn't have to go to work?
No, I went out to work on my four-wheeler.
Okay. And what time would you normally go to work?
Usually about 7 o'clock.
About 11 o'clock?
7.
7 o'clock, I'm sorry. And while you were out working on your four-wheeler, what area of the property were you working on that?
Behind my house.
Okay. And while you were working on that, did you notice anything unusual happen?
When Billy pulled in and they took off after they got hold of Mom and Dad, and Mom and Dad left behind them.
Okay. So who is Billy?
One of my sister's friends,
Okay. Which sister?
Bobby Joe.
Okay. And do you know his last name?
Morgan.
Okay. Had you seen him before?
I've seen him before.
Okay. So you knew that he was your sister's friend?
Yeah.
Okay. And were you present when he had a conversation with your parents?
Nope.
Okay. Can you tell us approximately how long he was there at your house?
Probably maybe a minute or two.
Okay.
Okay, so again, if you're just now tuning in, this gentleman is the brother of Dana Rhoden, one of the 8 victims killed in this massacre. Let me bring in for some analysis now our law enforcement expert guest, retired FBI Special Agent Bobby Chacon in Los Angeles, California. Bobby, what I would love to get from you is kind of your objective assessment of the case evidence. We got that big, long preview yesterday with the opening statements from the state of Ohio, and we know a bit with some of the guilty pleas that we've seen from mom and one of the brothers. Tell me what you think in terms of this case. How provable is it in your view by the state of Ohio, and what might this jury do?
Well, Julie, this is a really complex case in that the overall story of the case kind of transcends the charges against this one defendant, right? Because we already had 2 people plead guilty. We have 1 yet to go to trial. And it's really a historical story of the relationship between these 2 large families in this community that goes back generations, literally. And the interactions and the relationships, who was getting along with who wasn't getting along with who. And that's what you're seeing in the testimony now. They're trying to lay the foundation for different relationships. It's very complicated when, somebody may be getting along with somebody for years, something happens, then those 2 don't get along again. So really the prosecution has to paint this big story and then narrow it down to the charges against this individual in this case. But the jury needs to hear that larger context to fit everything in, even if some of that context doesn't relate to the charges in this case, because again, 2 people have pled guilty to other crimes or related crimes in this case. So it's really a job of the prosecution to kind of really tell the whole story of these 2 families, these 2 warring kind of families and the interrelationships, because everything kind of impacts on everything else. It's kind of like a house of cards, and everything kind of influences what happens. And so it's really challenging for the prosecution to kind of, they have to go above and beyond what's charged in this particular case against this particular defendant to kind of put it in the context of this whole story.
Excellent points, Bobby. Speaking of what you said about the house of cards, something I wanted to ask you about, please, that came out in the opening statements. Because I think a lot of us at Court TV, when we do our research prior to a case going to trial, there are always lots of questions. And one of them was like, okay, if this custody battle was about Jake Wagner and Hannah Mae Rhoden and the child that they shared, why were all these people in the Rhoden family killed? And the state of Ohio answered that very clearly yesterday, saying that the Wagners conspired and said there would be blowback from the Rhodens if just one person, Hannah Mae, was killed, they would retaliate against the Wagners. So according to the state of Ohio, their grand plan was to kill them all so that nobody would be left to retaliate. That was some really shaking stuff to hear that. I mean, you don't often hear about cases like this, but I wanted to just bounce that off of you and get your professional take on that, please.
That you're exactly right. And that's what I talk about when I say the larger context of the generational rivalries between these 2 families in this community. They go back generations, and so you're right, and I think the state was right that they couldn't just do a targeted execution of the mother of the child so they could get the child back. I mean, these are 2 fairly large, fairly prominent families, fairly active families. They're hunters. They have the ability to hurt people, and so they knew that the trail would go back to them, obviously. And so, as horrific as it is, they sat down and they planned this entire annihilation of this warring family, if you will. It sounds medieval almost, where we have to take out the whole family or else we'll be fighting the survivors. And so, as horrific as that sounds, it appears to be what happened in this case.
Right. Oh, you're absolutely right. One of the producers was using the Shakespeare, famous the Hatfields and the McCoys, and that story is, somewhat of a comparison. And yeah, I mean, this is a nasty, nasty rivalry that's being alleged here, and something like straight out of a movie. I mean, it's really, really unthinkable what occurred there in that small county, Pike County, Ohio. This is a small place where everybody knows everybody. Certainly this community has been shaken. Bobby Chacon, great analysis from you as always. Stand by, please. We've got more questions and more of this case. We're going to hit the pause button. We'll go back to Ohio right after this break.
Get clinical immunity today.
Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Julie Grant. Let's go back to Pike County, Ohio together. We're in the first day of testimony in the Ohio family massacre case. We're hearing from the brother of one of the victims who was killed. Let's go back into court now.
Yes.
Okay. And in a separate residence?
Yeah.
Okay. But on basically the same property?
Yeah.
Okay. So you see Billy Morgan pull up, and did you see him talking to your parents?
No.
Okay. What did you see?
Just seen him pull up, get out, walk up to the house, and they went back to the car and went back out the road.
Okay. And then what happened?
The way Dad took off, I knew something was wrong.
Okay.
Then I went to see what was going on.
Okay. So you said your dad took off, and the way he took off, you could tell something was wrong.
Yep.
Okay. But you didn't know what was wrong.
Nope.
Okay. And was your mother with him?
Yes.
And then what did you do?
No, I just jumped in my truck and followed him out to her.
Okay. So you're just could tell it was urgent, and you wanted to follow to find out what was going on.
Yep.
Okay. And where did you go?
The Frankie's house.
Okay. And were you just following them and just
Yep.
went where they went? Okay. And when you got to Frankie's house, what was going on?
And pulled up, and cars were sitting in the road, and wondering what was going on.
Okay. And when you said the car was sitting in the road, whose car was sitting in the road?
Bobby Joe's car and Mom and Dad's car.
Okay. And Bobby Joe's car, was that the car that Billy was driving
Yes.
when he came to your parents' home? Okay. And were they still in the vehicles at that time?
I think he was done out.
Say it again.
He was done out.
Okay. And what happened then? What did you do?
Well, I pulled up there and shut my truck off.
Okay. Did you get out of your vehicle?
After I shut it off, and I got out.
Okay. And did you have a conversation with anybody?
Not right then.
Okay. At some point, do you find out what has happened?
No, I walk up to the yard and see the Frankie's baby covered in blood.
And what was Frankie's baby's name?
Ruger.
So you see Frankie's baby covered in blood. Do you remember who was holding the baby at that time?
Bobby Joe.
Bobby Joe. Okay. And do you find out at that point what has gone on?
No.
Okay. Go ahead and tell me at what point what did you do next after you see Bobby Joe with Ruger?
I asked her what the hell happened.
Okay. You asked Bobby Joe?
Yep.
And can you tell me what she told you then?
He said that Chris and Gary's dead down at Chris's trailer, and Frankie and Hazel's dead there.
Did you ask her any more questions at that time?
Nope.
Okay. And then what did you do?
I just stood there for a second.
Okay. How was Bobby Joe upset at that time?
I don't really remember.
Okay. What did you do next?
And we went in Frankie's house.
You went in Frankie's house?
Yeah.
Okay. Did anybody else go into Frankie's house with you at that time?
Me and my dad, Cody, and Bobby Joe.
So your son was there also?
Yeah.
Okay. Had he come with you, or did he come in?
He drove his own vehicle.
Okay. Do you know if he was supposed to work with Frankie that day?
They were supposed to.
Did you see Frankie and Hazel?
Yes.
Okay. And can you describe what you saw?
Blood everywhere.
You said blood everywhere?
Yeah.
Okay. And when you say blood everywhere, can you tell us where specifically?
It was on the body, on the bed, on the walls.
Did you touch or move anything in that room?
No.
Okay. Did anybody touch or move anything when you were
Not
present?
that I know of.
Okay. What did you do after you saw Frankie and Hazel?
Went back outside, got in my truck, and went to Dana's house to tell her what's going on.
And what happened when you got to Dana's house?
I knocked on the door, then the door opened by itself.
I'm sorry, you knocked on the door and what?
It opened by itself.
Okay. So it wasn't completely latched or something?
I'm not sure.
Okay. And what was your intent when you went to Dana's house?
Tell her something was wrong with Frankie and Chris and him.
Okay. After you knocked on the door and it opened, what did you do?
I yelled her name.
Okay. Did she respond?
No.
Then what happened?
I kept yelling her name, went to her bedroom.
Okay, couple observations here. A witness like this clearly seems like a man of few words. Not really comfortable telling the story. I think the state's got to do a better job of making the witness feel comfortable, having him tell the story. Just a question as simple as, tell us what happened. What did you see when you went in? Just let the witness go. This is very frustrating with the short answers and then the short question and then another short answer, another short question. That's just my thought right now. I'm being told we have to squeeze in a break. Let us know what you think. Tweet us at Court TV. Let us know. We'll be right back with more from Ohio after this.
Tonight on Closing Arguments, a deep dive into the Alec Murdaugh murder mystery. We'll bring you the latest twists in the investigation and what it might mean for the disgraced former attorney. This high-profile case continues to surprise, and our experts will break it all down. Plus, on the docket, it was a love triangle that turned deadly. Now, Caitlin Armstrong stands accused of murder. We'll bring you the details surrounding her case before tomorrow's pretrial hearing.
Closing Arguments, tonight at 8/7 Central, only on Court.
Back to Ohio we go now for more of the Pike County family massacre case. On the stand right now, the brother of one of the victims who was killed. Let's go in now where we left off.
And still didn't get any response?
No.
Okay. And you said you went to her bedroom?
Yeah.
Okay, and you knew where her bedroom was in
Yes.
the house? Okay. And what did you do when you got to her bedroom?
Kept yelling her name.
Okay. Could you tell if she was in the bedroom or not?
Couldn't tell, it was dark in there.
Okay. So what did you do then?
I kept yelling her name, and I fell on the bed to see if she was there.
Okay. Just feeling around on the covers or the blankets
Yeah.
to see if she was there? Okay. And could you tell if she was there or not?
Yes.
Okay. And was she there?
Yeah.
Okay. So what did you do next?
I was trying to get her awake.
Trying to get her to wake?
Yep.
Okay. Were you like
Just tapped her.
patting on her body? Okay. And still on top of the covers?
Yeah.
Okay. And then what did you do?
And kept going up toward her head.
And when you got to where you thought her head was, what did you do?
I felt like a pillow over her head. I started to pick the pillow up, and you feel it stuck, and I just let loose of it and went out of the house.
Okay. So you started lifting up the pillow, but you could feel that it was sticking?
Yeah.
Or it was stuck?
Yeah.
Okay. And you said then you ran out of the house or went
I
out of the
just
house?
turned around and walked back out.
Okay. And why did you do that? Like, what did you think?
Because I figured she was dead too.
Okay. What made you think that?
Because where the pillow was stuck.
Okay. And she obviously was not waking to your attempts to rouse her. Okay. Were you aware of her work schedule? Like, were you aware of what her work hours were the night before?
Not that night, but she works crazy hours.
Okay. Did you go anywhere else in the house at that time?
No.
Okay. So you basically entered the residence, went straight to Dana's bedroom,
Yep.
did what you did there, and then exited the house basically
Yes.
the same way you came in?
Yes.
Okay. You didn't go to Hannah Mae's
Nope.
bedroom? Did you go to little Chris's
Nope.
bedroom? Okay. Did you hear anything in the house?
I heard Kylie crying.
You heard Kylie crying? Okay. Who is Kylie?
Hannah Mae's youngest daughter.
Okay.
I know this witness isn't showing much emotion right now here on the stand. However, I can't imagine what it would be like to come upon that crime scene and see all of that, what it would feel like and what it feels like for him right now to have to recall that. Let me bring in my guest now, retired FBI Special Agent Bobby Ciccone, standing by in Los Angeles. Bobby, you've done a lot of work throughout your illustrious career, come upon lots of different awful, awful scenes. Would you speak to what that is like, please?
Well, you know, I can speak to my experience in entering homicide scenes, but generally there's usually people there already. There's a uniformed officer there. There's some witnesses, possibly some family members and things like that. What you're hearing now from this witness, and I think he's incredibly composed. I know he's talking low and he's talking in short sentences, and you know, maybe he's not the most talkative or articulate person, but I think he's amazingly composed in that he's describing probably the most horrific day of his life. I mean, he's talking about walking into his sister's home and finding her brutally murdered. And I think he's doing a great job at that. I think the prosecution probably prepared him and realized they have somebody here that's not the most talkative person, so they're trying to get him to talk about this. But remember, this is a immensely emotional and tragically, horrible moment for this gentleman. And to ask him to go through that step by step without breaking down, without being emotional, I think he's doing a really good job.
Yeah, I agree with you. He absolutely is. And when you watch him, it's almost hard to believe he went through that, because I know it's like his affect isn't necessarily matching, what he went through. Who knows how he heals privately, not for us to judge, certainly, but I can't imagine what that does to you, as a human being, walking in on that and being, having served in law enforcement, when you come across dead bodies. I mean, you were telling us earlier how when you were heading up dive teams for many years and you'd recover the bodies of little kids, what that would be like I don't know how you get the images out of your mind. And I wish this prosecutor, something I do know is advocacy, that's my wheelhouse. This prosecutor, I think, can do a better job helping that witness paint that awful picture for the jury.
Yeah, when you have a witness like this, and I've been in many complex trials, and I'm an attorney myself, although I've never been a litigator, I think they have to, the onus is on them if you have a witness that isn't as talkative and isn't as articulate as other people might be. The onus is on the prosecutor to then, and prosecutors on direct examination, you're not necessarily allowed to use leading questions, but you have to kind of push that envelope. You have to kind of get as close to a leading question as you can get, or as the judge might allow, because you're just not going to get it from the witness.
Right. And Bobby Chico, time out real quick. You're an attorney as well.
Yes, I am.
How impressive is that? That's a little known fact about you. When you said that, you're so humble. You're like, yeah, and by the way, also a lawyer. Boy, that's really awesome. Well, those skills, of course, obviously came in very handy. I'm sure when the FBI was recruiting you, to go work for them. And wow. Wow.
Yeah, they certainly did. I taught 4th, 5th, and 6th Amendment issues within the FBI to FBI agents that were non-attorneys.
Wonderful.
So I was always reviewing legal cases and kind of updating them on the law.
Oh, sure. I'm sure you had many colleagues, and it's happy to take a look at this affidavit. I just drafted up, and
exactly.
How am I looking? Right. Want that advice from you, without a doubt. Well, okay, tapping into that experience, as well as your law enforcement experience, when you look at this case today, I know it's early on. Do you think the state of Ohio is going to be able to make out this case against George Wagner?
I think so. I mean, again, remember, you have his mother and his brother that are going to testify, and those are going to be very dramatic days in this trial. The other thing is to remember is this is a kind of a conspiracy case against him, and so I don't think the allegations are that he physically murdered anybody, but he was part of the plan. That's why it's an aggravated murder case against him. So we'll see how the jury, reacts to that this person is charged with the murders, but he didn't actually do the murders himself.
Exactly, Bobby, exactly. And we understand that's kind of where the defense is going to go and say, look, he might have been there, but he didn't pull the trigger. And then, the lines get blurred in terms of how much he did or did not do. As you know, cloaked in the presumption of innocence today. Bobby Ciccone, it's been such a treat having you on the show. Thank you so much for all of your expert analysis. Hope to see you back here very soon.